Welcome back to the She Inspires podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jade, board certified family medicine physician, wellness and weight loss specialist, owner of the membership medical practice in Las Vegas, Inspire Primary Care. And I am so excited for us to be back on the She Inspires podcast, which is our safe space for busy women chatting about balancing business and wellness. And today I want to start off by saying Happy New Year. If you are listening to this at the time of the recording, we are in the new year, honey. It is 2025 now. And I'm going to talk about something that may be a little bit of a slight twist on what we usually talk about when it comes to, the new year and new year goals. But that is something I want to call New Year soul goals. Okay. Soul goals. And each year, this is the first time I have ever really made soul goals and being intentional about soul goals. I think I'm just in a season of life now where I really have to think more in this way, because before this season of life, I was a high school student trying to get into med school. And so it was a grind, right? Like do what you have to do to get into undergrad, a high school student going into pre-med at UNLV. And so it was like, okay, get the scholarship and get into undergrad, and then finish undergrad and get into med school. And then it was like grind through med school. And it's like, okay, med school's behind us. Now let's get into residency. We have all these boards to take along the way, all these standardized tests to take along the way. Okay, residency's here. I had the extra, privilege of having children through residency. It was just grind season, like 15 years of just do what you have to do, boots to the pavement, put your head down and grind type of thing to get to the quote unquote finish line of becoming a physician. And for me, after residency, God told me to open a private practice, which is Inspire Primary Care, straight from residency, 8 weeks after having my second baby. So it has looked like a season of girl go. Okay. And I have created a lifestyle of being comfortable in the uncomfortable and being used to just grinding and going and rest when you're dead type of mentality. Because although I knew I was called to become a physician at 4 years old, and no one could have told me or warned me about how challenging the journey of becoming a physician would be. And good thing they didn't warn me, because woo girl, okay? But now I have this weird season of, okay, you have grind those 15 years. You have, established yourself as an entrepreneur and a business owner. You're heading into year 3 of the business. So it's out of its infantile stages and now headed into the toddler stage. And the team is growing at Team Inspire in a way where the quality care doesn't only come from you anymore. It comes from you and the team. And so it's this really interesting, beautiful, but new season where it's like, okay, you don't have to grind like that anymore. It feels very strange, very weird. But instead, I have to actually think about and listen to what my soul needs, because although God blessed me with what I needed, energy and mental health wise and physical health wise, to push it through those 15 years of training, now that is not sustainable for the next 15, right? I don't want or need to, and I quite frankly cannot keep that level of hustle and grind for the next 15. And so now I am trying to reprogram myself and learn the skill of actually listening to what my soul needs. And so I'm calling those soul goals, instead of doing what I typically do in the new year, which is, oh, it's a new year. Let me write down my New Year's goals, my New Year resolutions. And a lot of people's New Year's resolutions look like losing weight and things like that. And don't get me wrong, I definitely had that as a goal after I had the babies, especially baby number 2, Aaliyah. I gained 60 pounds with her, 60. And honey, that 60 pounds did not want to go nowhere, which is why I put myself on the Inspire Primary Care Medical Weight Management Program, transitioned back to my healthy weight. And I'm not saying that weight was not one time on the list of wellness goals. However, in this season, it's about soul goals. Okay. And so I wanted to, just ask you all, like, are you in a season where you don't only need to look at wellness goals in the traditional sense, but do you need to look at wellness goals like soul goals? Like, what does your soul need, like the inner you need in this next season. And so let's explore that together, okay? And I have my top 3. I've thought about it and prayed about it. Like, what do I really need going into this next year? And I'm going to share my top 3 soul goals. And as I go, some of these may be your soul goals. Some of these may not be soul goals for you, but I want you to reflect on what are the top 3 soul goals that you need in this next year. And so number 1 for me is going to be trusting God. Trusting God. I am a woman of faith and I love the Lord and I believe everything He shows me. Like when I was 4 years old and He told me, oh, you're going to be a doctor. I believed that. Even though most of the people around me did not believe that, I believed it wholeheartedly. So it's not so much a trust in God, like when He shows me something to believe it, but it's more so trusting the unknown and being okay with not having the answers to my whole journey, not knowing what 2025 store for me, not knowing where Inspire Primary Care, where God will take the business, not knowing where God will take our nonprofit organization, not knowing where God will take my health and my family's health and all of it, just really trusting God with every aspect and being okay, not trying to map out and plan every little thing and make a to-do list and a checklist and not being so meticulous about every little detail and just being like, God, I trust you. Wherever you have me is where I'll be. And whatever you tell me to do, that's what I'll do. And so that's one of my soul goals, is really to just go into this new year just trusting God, not trying to map it out and plan it all out, but just saying, Lord, guide me. And I trust that. My soul goal number 2 is more peace. And so we've talked about it on the podcast about peace protection strategies. And I told you I've had to be intentional about blank space on my calendar and saying no and being okay with, prioritizing things that just really pour into my peace. And so my soul goal number 2 in the new year is just more peace, really reflecting on what that looks like, what that needs to look like, what things I need to be intentional about, and what things I need to go with the flow and be flexible on that will allow more peace in this new year. And number 3 is, I've talked about this as well, for me is going to be more rest. And rest doesn't mean like you're not still fulfilling your calling. Rest doesn't mean that your business, or make it personal, that my business is no longer providing high quality care to the Las Vegas community. It doesn't mean that progress isn't still happening around me and through, my businesses and things I'm connected to, but it also doesn't mean that I have to physically be the one doing every little thing. I am going to be even more intentional about delegating, even more intentional about outsourcing, even more intentional about continuing to grow the company culture and grow Team Inspire in a way that can continue to serve more of the Las Vegas Valley with high quality primary care. And so, but will also allow me to have more rest, even with all of those things, all of those areas of calling still being fed and growing, but also to still have it in a way where I'm able to prioritize more rest. So those are my top 3 New Year soul goals: trusting God, more peace, more rest. And that feels so good going into this year, because last year I went into the year saying like, oh, this is the year of like elevation and these are my goals and these are this. And it was really overwhelming. Like I started the year like at a speed of 150 plus miles per hour. And I quickly learned around Q2, like, oh, girl, you need to slow the pace down to a healthy, sustainable pace. And so now it's nice to go into 2025 with a more matured spirit of, okay, what does my soul need? And all of those other things can still be true without going at that type of pace. So that's where I'm at. And I always just want to kind of share the true transparent journey of what balancing business and wellness is looking like for me. And I just wanted to, have us together take a moment and say, man, what are my New Year soul goals? And so I want to know what yours are. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Leave a comment below and DM me if you want to keep it private between you and I. DM me at Instagram at Dr. Jade MD and let me know like, oh girl, these are my soul goals. And I'm here to help keep you accountable and to cheer you on to leave the podcast a review. Let us know how we're doing. Share this podcast with other busy professional women that may enjoy conversations about balancing business and wellness. And join the fam at Instagram. We're at Dr. Jade MD. We're also on YouTube at Dr. Jade MD. Join the fam. I can't wait to see you on the next episode of the She Inspires podcast.